Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Flames. Darryl Sutter said it perfectly. It was sloppy. After losing 2-1 to the Avalanche, how can the Flames learn from their mistakes and learn to play around getting goalied? All that and more on today's episode of Locked On Flames.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Locked On Flames. I'm your host, Jess Belmosto of the Metropolitan Riveters Public Relations team. How are you? I hope you're having a great day today. Thanks for making Locked On Flames your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, and we are free 99 on YouTube as well as everywhere else. What happened last night? It was very obvious that the Flames got goalied, and there isn't much you can do about that. You can't quickly read a goalie like that. And I know I said that in yesterday's episode that the Flames could figure it out, but I will eat my words today because they were not doing that. But the one thing that they did do was crash the net, and that's what we wanted. We wanted them to generate true high danger scoring chances. And the Flames had 45 shots on net, and of course, not all 45 of them are going to be high quality, high caliber shots. But when you're looking at that, you have to say, at least they're shooting the puck and just not overpassing. Like, the shooting is there. Like, the attempt and the effort is there. But Darcy Kuemper is enemy number one to me right now. He looked like a brick wall out there, and I am so upset about it because I just wanted the Flames to just get two goals, especially in the last minute and a half when Nazem Kadri got that penalty and the Flames had the man advantage, and I thought they were going to do it, but Darcy Kuemper held strong for the Avs, and it was so frustrating. And we're going to talk more about special teams later in the episode because that is truly what this game was. It was all special teams. And I'm upset. I'm upset at the outcome, and I'm disappointed in the Flames. I thought that that they looked fine. Like, it wasn't anything. Like, 5-on-5, they looked fine. That is what I'm saying. Like, 5-on-5, they looked good. It was a truly repetitive game from the game that we saw on Saturday against the Oilers. It was very high pace, high energy. Special teams came alive, and the physicality was there. There's no doubt about that. But when you run into a good goalie, you're not running into, I am currently blanking on the other goaltender, not Mike Smith, but it's just when you're running into strong goaltenders, you're going to have a very different time than you would playing a team like Edmonton or Koskinen. Thank you. Koskinen or Smith. You're not running into brick walls there. If anything, you are running into Swiss cheese. And it is much easier to score on Swiss cheese than it is with a brick wall. And it's not like you're playing, Mrazek in Toronto, who's constantly battling injuries and constantly struggling. But I feel like that guy could not buy a shutout with like $2 million, to be completely honest. But they did not succeed at the outsmarting their opponent. If anything, they played at the special teams level was just abysmal. It was so frustrating to watch them go out there and try to kill a penalty and watch them allow goal after goal. And they just crapped all over themselves, and there's no other way to put it. And, Darryl Sutter had quotes today. Chris Tanev had quotes last night that we're going to talk about next. But what on earth has this penalty kill turned into, and why is it so important for them to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, put on those big boy pants, and get it together? Coming up next, we're going to talk more about the abysmal penalty kill and special teams. But first, let's talk about BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all of your sports news, podcasts, and betting updates. They have you covered from A to Z, whether it be March Madness or the Super Bowl. I'm sure we could start putting bets down on World Series favorites before we know it. And of course, they have you covered for hockey. So head on over to betonline.net today to see where your favorite team ranks among favorites and if you should put a couple bucks down to get a few more in return. Head on over to betonline.net on your mobile device or desktop or whatever you have internet connection with. BetOnline, where the game starts. I talked about last week how the Flames had their weaknesses exposed against San Jose and Buffalo. And then I remembered, I actually got a comment on one of the videos. Somebody, I believe it was an Avalanche fan, he went back and commented and was like, this is just hockey. Like, it just happens. It doesn't matter if you're the best team in the league or the worst team in the league. Like, it's just, excuse me, losses are inevitable. And that, obviously that, but when you hear someone else say that, it's very humbling, but it's also a nice reminder because, you're not over here overthinking it. But for the Flames to allow 5 goals on their last 7 penalty kills, that is not good. Those are horrible numbers, and it shows that there is a disconnect in their special teams unit on the penalty kill. And Tanev went out there today and said they need to go back to working stronger as a group of 4. And yeah, please, again. And then he says, I think we were killing well until obviously letting 3 goals in a period against Edmonton, and tonight was all special teams. They got 2 and we got 1, and that was the difference in the game. We've got to bear down on our clears, on our entries, and get back to outworking teams when we're out there. And he is absolutely correct, because what are you going to do if you can't kill a penalty come playoffs? You're in deep doo-doo, and it's time. It's time to start picking up what you're slacking. Darryl Sutter said it perfectly, honestly. He had a great thread of quotes that I'm going to read in a minute here as well, but he said sloppy. 2 games, very sloppy. Individual mistakes. The first one tonight, the puck should go down the ice. The forwards had 2 cracks at it. The second one is just a straight by our defenseman, just a straight read. Those are mental mistakes, is what they are. Oh, he's talking about the goal against, that was like right in front of Goodbranson. Very simple. Okay. Yeah, no, he is 200% correct. And when I was watching it, the first goal that just kind of literally just like flew by Goodbranson, I looked at my TV, I looked at my cat, looked back at the TV, and I was like, what are we doing here, folks? What are we doing? Because this is not the Flames that I've been watching all season. And I think it is obviously so important to to just remember that you haven't clinched anything yet, and to remember that there's still like a month of the season left, and you have to start getting it together. And today at practice, Salem, who's been on the show before, talked to Sutter, and Sutter's just, I love him. He's great. He said So the Flames have been heard saying, if we make the playoffs, which is a good mentality to have. But then he goes on to say, you'd better make sure you make the playoffs, because if you don't have that in your mindset, then you're going to play Colorado as a wild card and you'll get the shit kicked out of you. And I'm not interested in that. I love how number one, the self-awareness from him versus Jeff Ward like, is night and day. Jeff Ward could not say that his special teams sucked. He could not go out there and say things like, we just have to be better at 5-on-5. There was always some sort of scapegoat, or it wasn't even like he wasn't even like existing. Like it's like he wasn't watching the same game. He'd be like, yeah, it was a good game. I don't know what you're talking about. Meanwhile, Darryl Sutter is this is like his second time saying the Flames don't want to play Colorado. Like it would be a literal waste of time. He goes on to say, Flames players have continuously used the phrase, if we make the playoffs, and Sutter said a few times he has no interest in being a wild card team because of the path through Colorado. He wanted and believed they could finish as the top team in the Pacific. Like, they're not wrong. I think they do have a very good chance of finishing first in the Pacific, but they just need to kind of get this together. And I get it. It is a long season. It's nice out. It's kind of like when you're in the classroom and you are, it's standardized testing time for me, which is always in the spring. It's nice out. Like the snow's finally all melted. It's warm and you're just itching to be outside. You want nothing more than to be outside and not in school, and you're just not focused. And I think that teams are focused, but when you have a cushy, uh, you know, fall from grace, I don't think it's necessarily something you're too worried about. But I think that the Flames really do need to get back down to reality, because this is just not where we want to be going. We want to be securing every point we can. And I was hoping that they would have been at least able to take it to overtime last night. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And that's just part of the game, baby. But coming up next, we're going to have my final takeaways. And of course, much more, because I have a lot left to say. Thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Flames. As always, I appreciate you following along, and make sure that you are following me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. It is on the screen, and you can find the show Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. I think that the biggest thing here is acknowledging that there's room to grow, but also having a coach who is holding you accountable. There's none of this like stepping around, beating around the bush, like, well, we have to try to get better. Darryl Sutter is saying we will get better, or this is going to be the biggest waste of time. Like, everyone's time is going to be wasted. And that's the thing that I've come to love and appreciate about Darryl Sutter, is how, number one, I don't want to say transparent, because I think there are definitely issues that he doesn't really talk about, but he does elaborate on things. He does, address things that need to be addressed with the media. Well, other coaches will just give you next to nothing. He will give you quotes to work with, and it is a great way for the Flames to just know that they're going to be held accountable, because it's one thing if you say it to the team on the ice or in the locker room. It's another thing when you say it to the journalists that are writing about you. I just don't think that this kind of hockey is sustainable. I think that the Flames are too good of a team to, number one, continue playing like this, but to allow themselves to spiral. I think that they'll snap out of it, but I also think that today, or I guess Tuesday night's game, was a wake-up call. I think that there were a lot of opportunities for the Flames over the last 2 weeks for them to see where they need to be better. Whether that be in a quick, snap of a 2-minute special teams flash on the ice, or if that is a true 60-minute hockey game. Like, I think about the game against Buffalo. Games like that are going to happen, of course. But how are you going to bounce back from that? I know it's not giving up a 3-goal lead or allowing, the Sharks to score 3 unanswered goals. Like, I know that that's not what you're going to do. And I think the Flames just really need to go back to how they were playing before the All-Star break, when it was just very end-to-end hockey. You were seeing Mangiapane get down and dirty on the forecheck. You were seeing, Johnny just generating shots after shot after shot. And Blake Coleman was, kind of getting a little physical. Those are things you need to see, and those are going to be the way you win your hockey games. And I don't think that the Flames could ever, number one, sustain this, but there's no way that they are going to see success if they don't shake it. So it's either they've been frauds all season long and are now hitting their demise, or they're just playing hockey. This is just part of the stretch, and they're going to bounce back, and they play the Kings on Thursday, and they just have to bounce back. Like, there is no way around it. They need to just get it together. I want to see stronger penalty kills, because what happens if you go out there against, think Nashville is who you would play, and what happens if you have a game where you are just on special teams the whole time? What if you have basically another repeat of what happened against Colorado? What are you going to do? You going to stand there and crap yourselves again? I don't think that's okay. And I know that's not okay. But it's just a matter of them having that self-awareness and fixing it. That is what matters. And I really am impressed with how the team is responding to, I think there's a reason why you're hearing from the voices of the players that you're hearing from. Because, I think last season Lucic was used as a mouthpiece for Geoff Ward to kind of, say like, oh, like the players can only, the players have to step up and do more, and the coach, the coach can only do so much, and players need to step up. Or something like, like there's a reason why Tanev is going out there and saying it versus someone like a different veteran, and I don't think that means like there's like a rift in the room or anything, but I think that there are certain leaders on teams that, or even certain players, who will go out there and reiterate what the coach is saying because they truly believe it, and they want other people to believe it as well. And Tanev is painting a perfect picture, and so is Darryl Sutter. Like, there's no doubt about that. And I'm hoping that, against the Kings, they come together and they're able to snag those 2 points. This is a division rival now. They are currently in second place. They're fighting for a playoff spot, and they want the lead. They want the lead in the division. Are you kidding me? So go out there and just, for the love of God, learn from your mistakes. So that'll do it for me today on today's episode of Locked On Flames. It is a bit of a shorter one today. I believe Audie will be joining me tomorrow for either a Locked On Flames preview or post game for this matchup against the Kings. So thank you all. Please remember to follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, make sure you are subscribed on YouTube as well. And I will catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.